So, hello, this is the Alchemy of Alignment. I'm here today. Well, isn't it interesting that your curiosity has brought you here today? But we're here today to talk about purpose. My name's Susie Sanders. I'm the founder of Alchemy Virtual Assistants. I am also a professional business coach and mentor. And I am excited about today's conversation because I will always be an executive assistant in my heart. And I've got one of the best C-suite executive assistants joining me for our conversation of purpose today. So I'm delighted to have Jodie Mears in the room with me today. And as I said, Jodie is a very experienced C-suite exec assistant. She also has her own podcast and a whole following on LinkedIn, and she's a huge advocate of the assistant space. So I'm really excited to see where this purposeful conversation leads today. So Jodie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me as well. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for agreeing to it, because you have got a lot on. You're a board advisor for the PA show as well, aren't you? Is that one of your
I am,
labels?
yeah, I have been for the last 3 years, I think. Yeah, or 3, 4, yeah, coming up 4 years. Yeah.
Wow, goodness. And how long have you been an executive assistant?
Oh, I'm keeping it around 20 years. So around 20 years, probably a touch over. So yeah, around 20 years. Well, I'm at the 20-year mark, let's put it that way.
My goodness. And I think some of the best executive assistants I know kind of fell into their role. Would that be true for you as well?
Absolutely. I say executive assistant, but that's my title today. I've had many titles that have encompassed the whole assistant role. And you know what it's like. There's so many different job titles. I think the recent study has said over 190 something different job titles that describe what we do.
Yeah.
So when I reflect back on how long have I been an assistant, I've been an assistant in some shape, form, or job title for 20 years, regardless of the job title. It's all encompassed, high level, executive, managerial, team support, coordination, even reception. And yeah, landed into it. I didn't actually take the role seriously. I'm going to be honest, I haven't taken it seriously until the last 4 years. 4 years ago, I had an epiphany moment and I thought, no, this is what I'm going to be doing now for the rest of my life. So I
Wow.
hadn't taken it seriously because of that very reason of I'll just wait until I get a proper job, or I'm just here until I get an actual proper career. It's just a stepping stone for me at the minute. So I know I'm good at it. I know you like me, but I might not be here very long. And
Yeah.
years and years went past and I'm still here. So yeah, I fell into it, totally fell into it.
Oh, I can really relate with what you're saying about that kind of, I'm not going to take it seriously, but that kind of stepping stone type. I've definitely, do you know what? To some degree, I think I've probably still got that now, even though I'm so committed, focused on the purpose and what I'm doing, and I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. I think that's one of the things that kind of drives me forward, because when I'm in that space, that's when you're learning and absorbing, and you kind of almost sometimes don't realize what experience and insights you're gathering while you're on that journey, until you have that moment and go, right, I'm serious about this now. What have I got in my EA bag that I've been carrying around for 20 years? And there's so much gold in there, isn't there? Because
So
I mean,
much.
we were talking about this before we hit record, about we both love tangents, and I feel like we've gone off on one already, but
Oh,
I'm
going
going
off
with
on
it.
one right now. Because I think it's that need for always wanting to do better, that
Yeah.
striving for the next level. So the choice of words back then were wrong for me to
Yeah.
say it's not a proper job. It's when I get a real job. The choice of words were wrong, but when I reflect back to what that meant in my head at the time, it was probably this deep yearning for always striving to do better, to learn more, to do more. I just didn't connect the dots that actually this is a profession of choice. It's only through other people's perceptions and assumptions of the role that led me to just repeat annoying, unworthy phrases in my mind, which is where you need to kind of reflect and be strong and say, actually, I'm not going to repeat what people say about an assistant. It's not actually true. So
Yeah.
there was an epiphany moment, but how I fell into it is quite a story as well. I actually trained to be a hairdresser and beauty therapist at college for 3 years full time. That was quite a chore. Um, Full-time course, yeah, for 3 whole years. Um, and then I moved out of my hometown, which is Brighton, got married and all of that jazz, and realised I did manage a spa for quite a while and had that, experience as a beauty therapist. I didn't do too much with the hair, even though I come from a family of hairdressers. Um, so yeah, the beauty therapy, I love that. I absolutely loved it. I did all kinds of things. Late 90s, that was early 2000s. And when I moved area, it was really difficult to get a well-paying beauty therapy job. I remember the hourly rate was £2.50 an hour. And I just couldn't, and then you have to make, your money up with commissions. And I just couldn't make that work. So I went temping and Office Angels, Reed, all of those agencies, the best form of work they can give you, the easiest form of work, start this afternoon if you like, is office work. And then here I am.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And we're all about purpose here. That's the point of this podcast. And I what does purpose mean to you? I don't want to limit it to just a professional capacity, but what does
Mm.
purpose mean to you?
Yeah, it's something I've been pondering for a few years as well. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing versus what do I want to do? So I think it's that realization, and it only comes from you when you make the penny drop, when you are ready to make that penny drop moment happen, because it all stems with your own reflections of everything, not just personally, professionally. When are you ready to let the penny drop on what your purpose is? For me, it's like three things, I would say. So purpose is like the middle sandwich filler, and then I've got two things either side that led me to understand my purpose a little bit more. And that was the first for me comes passion. My passion first leads me to my purpose, and then from then on, my purpose leads me to my legacy. What am I leaving behind?
I just got goosebumps then, Jodie. I mean,
Is that
I love a sandwich. I'm a
I
big
love a
sandwich fan, but the way
yeah.
that you describe that, like, it's so simple because because I'm seeing lots of threads in the conversations that I'm having about purpose and the outputs from this podcast and what people are kind of telling us they're taking from it. And
Yeah,
the link between the passion and the purpose is absolutely there. Your passions kind of show you your purpose almost. They're the things to follow. And
absolutely.
purpose is a journey, right? It's another one of those things of like, I'm never going to arrive. Oh, I've got my purpose. I'm here. I'm
I'm
done.
done.
You
Yeah.
know, so the purpose, the passion, the purpose, and the legacy.
Yeah, I
And the
think they all
legacy.
kind of come together,
Yeah.
because if you just solely rely on figuring out your purpose, and like you said, it not just professionally, it's a whole kind of thing of life. Why am I here? How did I get here? What do I believe in? What don't I believe in? What am
Mm.
I willing to put my hand up and say, I don't believe in that. That's not me. And then how do you backtrack from that to back up your reasoning for not going along with the
Mm.
general thoughts on purpose and why we are here? It's a bit deep. I'm not going into like the whole Genesis and Adam and Eve kind of analogies, that kind of purpose. Um, I don't even know what I think about that anyway. But yeah, for me, finding your passion will lead me to, this is it for me. Now I have a purpose to do this, to do that, to still do my
Mm.
day job, to be a great mum, to, um, learn more about podcasting, to advocate for the administrative profession, to elevate people that are new to the role, new to the profession, to help them realize the things that took me the best part of 15, 18 years to realize. That is my purpose, bringing people to the point where I am now, not to the point, not to the length of the time it took me to get there. I want people to fast track and not take so much time like I did. So my purpose, I think personally and professionally, because it kind of mixes in, especially when you're chatting to people, and I do mentoring as well. It's not just about what's your purpose at work, what do you want to be when you grow up. It's not about that. I think when
Yeah.
you connect personal with professional development and the two kind of align, that's the magic moment for me.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I can resonate with that. I mean, that's the whole reason why my first business, Alchemy Virtual Assistants, exists in the form that it does now. I wanted to set up a structure by which I could help empower and guide people to achieve what I had without it taking as much pain, as much heartache, as much resource, as much realization. And it's a tricky thing because that drive to support and guide others and to help is so
Mm.
intrinsic in business. And
Yes.
but then again, it's not a kind of rigid line, is it? Because you
Mhm.
don't want to end up, you can't save everyone from everything because the joy's in the journey. But then
Yeah.
if you're offering the insights and the support and the knowledge, and collectively that's how we all grow. And
Mm.
I loved your use of language when you said about making the penny drop as opposed to
When the penny drops.
waiting
Yeah.
when the penny drops.
Yeah.
So if I may, how did you make that penny drop? Like, how did you take control and take your power and make that penny drop when you were having your realizations?
Oh, I think it's a collection of circumstantial changes, change of environment,
Yeah.
personally and professionally really helps. A change of circle, so who you hang out with personally and professionally. How you become more at one with yourself and accepting yourself makes the penny drop, because at that point, for me, I had I have conversations with myself to say, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people think of me. It's not my responsibility how you perceive what I'm doing in a negative way. That's on you, not me. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to admit to myself that I do like speaking with people a lot. I do like supporting business goals, senior leaders, being in the mix and the thick of it, being amongst the weeds. I love chaos, and I like, taming it really. I thrive in all of the things that people have said to me in the past that I shouldn't thrive in. So making that penny drop is a point in your personal and professional life where you desperately want change. You're seeking change, you want to get uncomfortable, but you're not quite sure what the next steps are. But I say for people in those positions is just take one baby step. You don't have to have it all figured out. Um, I think in our line of work, we have to have everything figured out. We need to have the project, the plan, the day, the week, the itinerary, everything laid out, so those answers come in. I've got an immediate snappy questions. But when it comes to us, you don't have to have it all figured out, is
Yeah.
my belief. You just need to take a baby step towards being very uncomfortable. And that is the first step for me. It is scary, it's horrible, it's unnerving, it caused me sleepless nights, it caused me anxiety, it caused me depression. But I'm so glad it happened. It's seeing the bigger picture, and yeah, and ditching the whole belief of you need, what's your 5-year plan? What's your
Mm,
goal? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? Taking it back that far. That doesn't work for me. I like change. I like evolution in my personal and professional life. I like to see where things take me. I like to
Yeah.
see what will happen if I speak to Susie. You know, I don't want to say, oh no, I can't speak to Susie because that's not in my 5-year plan. She's not lined with me. I want to see what happens if, you know, curiosity is a big driver for me as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you wise soul, you Jodie, because you're absolutely right. I think the parallel you've made there with the link between, you're right. I mean, when I was an executive assistant, it was your job to know, to
Yeah.
preempt, to have, to prepare. And then I see this, I speak to so many really talented assistants who want to move into the virtual assistant space, and that sometimes it isn't the right time, or it's just too big and too scary to start
Mm,
transitioning from that default, because when that's what you're good at, that's what you do day in day out, and that's how you're kind of, you've programmed yourself to run in your professional life, to then go, oh well, I don't have to have a plan, I need to go with the flow, and I align to your beliefs that you take that step and the path will open up for you. And I keep seeing a lot recently about, you know, taking the risk because you
mm,
can't fail, because you'll always learn something. And
absolutely.
that in itself is, how is that failure? The failure is not trying.
Definitely.
Um,
The biggest risk is taking no risk,
yeah,
period. That is
yeah,
the big risk you could make, is not taking a gamble. And when you bet on yourself,
mm,
that's the most rewarding time. I mean, it's different when you're taking a risk with, you know, business decisions or, you know, planning decisions, because you kind of have to preempt what will happen, what is the overall knock-on effect to the business or the ROI, or, you know, the return um, with results. Or you need to kind of be a bit more open to not taking risk. But I think with yourself, you can afford the luxury of, you know, being, your appetite for risk can be different. Just
yeah,
try, just let nature take its course, as long as you keep yourself grounded. And you do have, I'm not saying don't have any goal, but I would allow myself to just be honest with myself as well, just to
mm,
be honest and say, you know,
yeah,
rather than that voice of reasoning all the time, always sitting on the fence. Well, you know, I don't mind this because, I don't mind, or no, that's fine, you know, that's always okay. I'm happy doing that. When you allow yourself to be honest and say, actually, I don't really enjoy doing that.
yeah,
And that's a penny drop moment as well.
yeah,
It's okay not to know, and it's okay to say, that's not for me. I don't like it. It's not going to make you look any less than anyone else or
yes.
anything else.
You're so right that you can't fail when you back yourself. And I think
Mm.
having rigidness on the goal or the legacy or whatever that kind of
Mm.
end destination is, and I'm using that phrase kind of hesitantly because I don't think we ever arrive, but having focus on that goal, but having like complete flex and trust in the
Mm.
journey, the process. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of, for me, that's where the joy comes in and the passions get fueled, because you're giving yourself permission and space and focus on actually
Mm.
following the things that are giving you the joy,
Yeah.
right?
And it
And
could be
that's where,
one thing, can't it? You know, we talk about
yes,
finding your passion like it's,
yeah,
you know, something you go and win at the fair. You know, you don't have to just arrive there and think, oh, there's my passion, I found it, because then you'd get that sense of, oh, found it. So was it that
mm,
easy? Is that it? Oh, what's next? So I like to have many passions. You know, it doesn't need to be one destination, it doesn't need to be one passion. I don't need to be just passionate about the administrative community. I think passions will lead you to cherry pick what you like about
yeah,
certain things, if you like, or certain passions, and then you can like draw on those things to make it one thing if you just want to concentrate on one thing. But your passions will lead to your purpose, because you'll feel so much more, aligned with yourself, that you've not just arrived and you found it, but you're finding it, and it's making you sleep better, it's making you tick, it's
Mm.
making you happier, it's making you feel fulfilled. And that feeling of fulfillment when you know, clock off for the night, that's what I love at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, a fellow multi-passionate person here, and I've spent a big chunk of my professional life
Mm.
trying to keep everything in neat, tidy little boxes. And, you know, I've worked with coaches in the early stages of my businesses who have just been trying to get me to focus on one thing. And actually,
I can't do that.
that's broken me because I'm like, well, no. If I'm honest, it's only been this past year that I've gone, oh, but all of this is me. You know, I had quite a lot of external resistance when I was launching my coaching practice because people were like, oh, well, are you still doing the VA thing? And how does that all fit? And I'm like, trust me, it fits. You know, my VA business has been serving the small business community for years. We've worked with hundreds of businesses in
Mm.
hundreds of brilliant different ways. And now I'm still serving that community just in a different way. And you know, I can see how the kind of ecosystem works. And as you've said, like I don't need to justify or explain to others because I know it works. I'm being true to myself. And the one thing that
Why
I've
does it
really
have to make sense to other people? Why does
exactly
it?
why.
Sorry, yeah. Why? And that's where people get put off and off track and downgrade what they're doing, because they think, oh, maybe she's right. You know, maybe it doesn't make sense, and I want everything to do everything I do to make sense. But I feel the same. I always had the same, as you need to, you know, stop. You're away with the fairies. You're concentrating on too many things. You need to focus. And I have a problem with that as well. Yeah, I am neurodivergent. I have ADHD, and that simply doesn't work for me. My superpower is I can focus on many different things at the same time and still deliver exceptional results. Other people can't. And
Mm,
that's where kind of, training comes into play, where it doesn't connect with me, in terms of, when you're time management, for example, you focus on one thing and then you move on to the next and you will be more productive. I've never connected with that before. And it's not until literally this, probably maybe last year or 18 months, I've realized it's not me. It's training that is not suitable for me, because this training is generic for the masses that hasn't actually been updated in centuries, it feels like. So focusing on
mm,
one thing, why do I need to do that?
yeah, it's so refreshing to hear you speak so freely about that because yeah, I mean, I'm can relate to what you're saying. I'm very similar. I'm in my genius zone, or I'm in flow, or I work better when all the tabs are open in my brain.
Yes.
And but then I think there is a I've seen it in the past, you know, that internalizing of, oh well, I'm wrong because that's not working for me.
Mm,
And that's another thing that I see often people kind of stumble over because we as human beings, you know, without dropping too deep into the psychology here, we do care what other people think. It's a survival
mm,
instinct, isn't it, that we're accepted by our tribe or by our communities. And but
mm,
for me, that kind of that's where it comes back to what you're saying about backing yourself and taking
mm,
gambles for yourself and understanding more about yourself. So you can be sitting
absolutely.
in that grounded, trusted space and say, well, this is who I am and this is how I'm working with things and this is what I'm doing. And I think that's when the movement comes and the legacy comes. And I see this in you, you know, your presence on LinkedIn, your community, your podcast, there is such wholeness about it.
Mm,
And
thank
I
you.
think when
Yeah.
you're in that place where you have kind of not cracked it, but cracked it, you know, you're in that. Is it acceptance? What do you see that as?
I think it's passion and purpose, and a, you know, a foresight for my legacy all coming into one moment.
Yeah.
To make that work, I need to work.
Yeah.
And because I'm already doing something that I like doing, which equals sort of the passion side of things, it makes everything I do, say on LinkedIn, easy and purposeful. And that's my purpose. I find it super easy. I don't have the same excuses that I hear from other people, which is fine. That's, their world, that's their headspace. I do find the time
Yeah.
because I like doing it. I find it easy. There's, what it's like. There's so many tools that can help you. It doesn't just mean you're constantly on a social media platform of all hours of the day. I'm smart. I work smarter, not harder. There's scheduling tools. There's, I plan my thoughts and content. I get inspiration from all kinds of places. When I get it, I write it down. I come back to it. I have like a plan of how I can then blurt it out on many different platforms, if you like. I find it easy. So it all kind of wraps around my passion, my purpose, and what I want to leave and be known for. And I think when you've been in a role like we have for so long, it can take a long time to understand what it is you want to do, or what you want to be when you get bigger. When I grow up, even now I'm still telling, when I grow up, I think I want to be. You have those conversations, even though I'm hitting 45 in a couple of weeks. When I grow up, am I still, I need to reverse. I need to go back to my 20s and figure out what I want to do, and do a course, go to college, go to university. I didn't do any of that. It was just all higgledy-piggledy. But when you've been in a role for so long, going back to my point, it's harder. It takes longer because your job has defined you for so long, and all of the rhetorics and assumptions and all those stupid buzzwords that surround our job, that's defined me for so long as someone maybe as having a little admin job on the side, or she doesn't know what she wants to do, or she would be really good at that job if she just peeled herself away from doing a little bit of typing every now and again. So it's defined you for so long. It has taken a while, but going back to that penny drop moment, when you want the change, you will be the change, and you will make the penny drop when you're ready. It won't happen like a slot machine. Someone won't put the penny in and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. You've got a new opportunity in the morning, you've got a shiny new laptop, you've got access to all of these platforms everyone bangs on about that will make your life easier, simpler and more productive. It comes with you. And then not having that bigger picture always hanging over you like a dark cloud. Just take some steps.
Yeah. If it's important to you, you make it happen, right? And there's something so empowering about that. And you so eloquently put that there, and I'm just like, I'm trying not, I'm bursting because you're so right. You're absolutely right. And touching on kind of identity, like I see this, I reflect on this a lot with our franchisees at Alchemy, because the jump from kind of employee to entrepreneur is the kind of mindset that I shift that I see. And I know how much almost unprogramming and reconditioning I'm still doing. When you've spent 20 years in a profession and then suddenly you've decided that actually that is going to take you somewhere else.
Yeah,
It is, you've got to do the work. You've got to do the
you
work.
have. And yeah, it's a
Sorry.
big moment because you get the comments as well, that will throw you off course slightly. So I haven't wanted to venture into, being a solopreneur or a VA, but I speak to VAs a lot. Um, and the disconnect and the realization of, what brought you to that point? Why? What is your purpose in pursuing this goal or pursuing this business? Why do you want to do it? And then we'll backtrack from there. And coming from the corporate world as well, when I worked for someone much smaller and it was a tiny team, I thought and they thought that I would be an amazing fit because I've come from corporate and I know all these things, and then I've gone into a small environment of like 2 or 3 people, and it just didn't work. I knew what I knew. I knew wrong from right in terms of business, protocols, processes, what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And comments like, you've been institutionalized by the corporate world. What's happened to you? That this is why we, remain small. This is why we don't want to venture into corporate. And when I reflect on things like that, is it because there is a hell of a lot more flexibility in solopreneurship, entrepreneurship, that divides you from those corporate ways of working? Will it give you a hard time adapting? Will it serve you for the better or the worse? For me, it served me for the better, because I knew instantly things that should be happening that weren't happening. So with VAs, it is a big leap. It is getting uncomfortable for a moment. It's undoing everything you've learned previously, but still remembering it at the same time. And,
Yeah.
and not, I don't think it's necessarily true that, VAs work solely behind the scenes. You don't get to talk to anyone. I couldn't do it because I like, an environment. There's so many ways of working virtually.
Yeah.
And I take my hat off to virtual assistants to be juggling like that. And, some have many clients as well, don't they? There's a lot going on. But when you get that fulfillment in what you do and you understand why you're doing it and what's brought you to that VA side, I think you can easily remember your passion, what your passion is, that's leading to your purpose to keep you fueled.
Absolutely. And it's fuel, isn't it? It is fuel. And knowing that purpose is, that's the thing that sees you through, helps you build your resilience, helps you
Mm.
keep moving in whatever direction it is that you're finding yourself going in. And that's one of the things that I always, well, through either of my businesses, when I'm speaking to people who want to work with me, I'm like, well, how comfortable are you being uncomfortable? Because
Mm.
that is for me one of the fundamental skills, if it is, that you need to learn, that flip into actually that this discomfort that I'm feeling is a positive thing. That is where the growth and the magic happens.
Definitely.
Oh, Jodie, I knew I was going to love hanging out with you today. I really
Likewise.
did. And I can see there's been some absolutely belting kind of quotes and things that have come out of this conversation. And as we draw towards the end,
Mm.
if I may, I would just like to perhaps ask you, what's the most important thing with your legacy? Like, look, we've talked about passion, we've talked about purpose, you've
Mm.
kindly shared your little snippets of your journey with us, but what's the legacy? What do you want to leave behind?
Oh, a sense of, if you want more, you've got to do more. But doing more doesn't mean giving up anything. It
Yeah,
all comes down to you. You don't you can have whatever you want to have.
yeah,
Work, personally work, professionally work. It won't come to you any other way. And legacy as well for me means sharing, being prepared to share, sometimes overshare with me, sharing what you want to leave behind. Because if you're not prepared to share anything, you won't have a legacy, because that is fundamentally what leaving a legacy is all about, isn't it? Visibility. So
yeah,
being visible if you want it, and understanding, what do you want to leave behind? What message? I think rather than a thing or a business that might not later transpire into future generations of your family, because that's a different kind of legacy. What do you want the message to be of your time, of my time here on earth? That, what was she, what was she during, when she was here? She was this, that. Maybe it's something that other people answer. Legacy is not something I define. Maybe it's what I do and what I say creates words and conversations that I will never hear.
what a gorgeous and profound perspective.
Thank you.
because it is, for me, legacy is you're right there, it's a co-creation, isn't it? Because if we're talking about what's the message, what's your being, what's your presence
Yeah.
after we've checked out, then we have the power to create and be here now. But it is about the feelings and what you brought to the world now. And that's what a
Mm.
incredibly profound point to end our conversation on today. Jodie, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. I have loved hanging out with you, and I think my role as host on this podcast is one of my most treasured, because I get to spend time in this space. So I'm immensely grateful to you for being here, Jodie, and to you for listening or watching and being present with us today, because time and focus are so, so precious. So thank you for being here. I'm Susie Sanders, and I will catch up with you soon.